Hello everyone. Yes, you read the title. It's kind of crazy. It all started when I decided to fly back to the UK for my bar call and my master's graduation. I arrived in the UK on a Saturday on the 13th of November. At that point, we didn't have to do any PCR tests before our flight from Malaysia. The only thing that we need to do in terms of COVID test was an antigen test on our within 48 hours of arrival. So I booked mine with Rainbow Labs. It was £9.99. We had to collect it from Hotel Ibis Earl's Court, which was around 10 to 15 minutes walk away from our Airbnb. Fast forward to the 15th, 2 a.m. in the morning, I woke up feeling extremely unwell, extremely nauseous. I just basically walked around the Airbnb, and once it became a little bit better, I try and force myself to bed again. But I woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning and started vomiting non-stop. Basically vomited 7 times in the span of 5 hours from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. It was just non-stop vomiting. Because it was a Monday, right? I had to do my antigen test. I couldn't walk to collect it. I couldn't move from my bed to the basin even. It was a tough journey. So my friend who was staying at the same Airbnb with me at that time went to get the antigen test for me. But when my friend left the home, I was on the bed peacefully. 2 minutes later, I ran to the basin of the room and started vomiting. And at that point, my legs were so jelly. I ran to the toilet outside of the room and basically just sat down there holding the toilet bowl and vomiting into the toilet bowl. Yeah, so I texted my friend and said, please come back now. He was walking on the way to get the test kit. I have to do my test by that day. So he ran to the hotel, get that test kit, ran back, went to Boots, get some medications because he wouldn't get another chance to leave the house, ran to Boots to get some medication, and ran back home. By the time when he reached the toilet, I was about to pass out, not even exaggerating. And he stood behind me because I was vomiting into the toilet bowl. So I literally just crushed into his leg because he was standing behind me and I couldn't move. I didn't have energy to sit up. I didn't have energy to stand up. I didn't have energy to talk or open my eyes even. So he had to drag me back into the room and put me on the bed, and literally like 5 seconds of me being on my bed, I ran to the room basin again and tried to vomit, but again nothing came out. So at that point I was so pale. I told my friend that I'm about to pass out. Do you think we should call the ambulance? But at that point our assumption was it's probably a gastric attack, so we didn't really do anything. But when I was vomiting so badly and I was about to pass out, I told my friend to just contact my parents. We didn't want to let them know for the past like 7 hours of me vomiting because we didn't want to let them worry. But at that point, it was really can't take it anymore. So we called my mom and let her know. My mom told us what vitamins to take, what massages to do to pass gas, and then it continued on from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I was still not getting any better. I was having severe abdominal pain at that point, but we thought it was because of the intense vomiting that I had on Monday that has caused the bowel pain, so we didn't go to see the doctor. But on Thursday, things were still not getting any better, and I was not really eating, I was just drinking soup. So we went to Chelsea and Westminster Hospital, and the diagnosis was gastroenteritis. At that point, I felt like a superwoman because the painkillers was quite strong, and they just said it sounds like I'm getting better, so they sent me home the evening of the same day, Thursday, and then I started having diarrhea episodes from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. At that point, I had 30 or more episodes of diarrhea. So we called 111 for medical advice, and she said again that it sounds like I'm getting better, but she did say she will book me in for an appointment if I would like to just make sure that we're not missing out anything, and I agreed because I wasn't getting any better, and at that point I was quite scared already because my bar call was in a week's time. So I went to the hospital the next Monday on the, what date are we at? So on the 22nd, I went back to the hospital. Again, the diagnosis was gastroenteritis, but because I was in so much pain at that point, the doctors decided to admit me, and my heartbeat was extremely fast. It was 125. I was having mild fever, and my blood pressure was extremely low. So they admitted me on Monday. They gave me 2 paracetamol pills as painkillers as well. But then they didn't ask me what my weight was. They just assumed that I'm an adult, and they gave me the adult dosage of paracetamol. But it was too much because I was underweight at that time, and I just passed out. I was so sleepy after I took the paracetamol. And then the next morning when I woke up, I told them my actual weight, and they were like, oh. And then they gave me 1 pill after that. On the Tuesday night, which is the 23rd, they sent me for an ultrasound because I was not getting well and my bowel was still hurting. It was at that point that they changed the diagnosis to ovarian cyst because they thought they saw 1 big ovarian cyst in my left ovary. And they said I have to go for surgery that evening itself, like immediately, or the next morning. And I told them I had some soup 20 minutes before the ultrasound, so they couldn't carry out the operation on Tuesday, but they would strongly recommend me to carry out the operation on Wednesday morning. And they said it's unlikely that I'll be able to make it for my bar call on Thursday if my operation was on Wednesday. But there's a possibility because ovarian cyst, they could just go in, conduct a keyhole surgery. A keyhole surgery is just cutting 3 tiny holes in my belly button and 2 in the bikini line area. And if everything went smoothly, I could be discharged on the morning of Thursday itself. And since I was already so sick, I can't go for my bar call without getting treated with the surgery. So I woke up and I told them, okay, I'll do the surgery this morning. So I queued up and waited for the room to be available. I was extremely sick. I haven't eaten in 12 hours. My blood pressure, everything was low except my heartbeat and my temperature. My CRP level was so high. CRP is my blood infection level. It was 200 plus at that point before surgery. Normal people should be less than 10. Just imagine that. I was extremely sick. So they gave me a pack of glucose to drink before my surgery, and they just pushed me in. When I was in the surgery room, everything happened so quickly. Nobody really said anything. They just said, alright, where's your cannula? Because they were supposed to inject the anesthesia into the cannula that I had on my arm. So I gave them and they started injecting. And I started coughing and coughing and coughing and coughing. And when I was in the process of passing out, I heard the anesthesiologist, is that what they're called, said, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you that you will cough. But that was reassuring for him to tell me that because I thought they overdosed me again or something that made me cough that much. And so I went into the surgery room, came out 3 hours later. It was quite a long surgery because they were trying to have a look into my appendix area to see whether or not it was appendicitis, but because they couldn't see it from the ultrasound, during the surgery they can't see my appendix as well because I was too skinny. And in the surgery they realized that it's not actually ovarian cyst. It was a pelvic abscess, a form of infection in the bowel area, and they took the infectious liquid to the lab to test it out, and they don't know what is the cause of it. Until now, I don't know what caused me 1 month of my life in the hospital, like so much pain and anxiety. I still don't know. So basically, I was done. I was pushed out from the operation theatre on the evening of the 24th, which is a Wednesday, and I basically just slept throughout the night. And I woke up the next morning, the morning of my bar call on the 25th, and I told the doctors that I want to go to my bar call. They said it wouldn't be recommended because I still had 3 tubes on me. But I told them I really want to go, and they said alright. And so I basically self-discharged myself. They took out all the tubes. They gave me stronger dosage of painkillers, paracetamol, and then I went off for my bar call. My bar call itself was a very dramatic story because I was discharged late. I almost missed my bar call. My whole bar call was a whole new story that could probably be made into a movie, and I was given a hospital curfew to go back by, I think it was 10 o'clock. So immediately after the event, I had to rush back to the hospital for my medications. And then after that, on the 26th, on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I wasn't discharged because my temperatures weren't going down. My heart rate was still as high as ever, and so they were afraid that it was appendicitis, which they were suspecting during the operation. So they sent me in for a CT scan. I had so much anxiety and I panicked when they told me I had to go for a CT scan, because CT scan to me is like so serious, probably only for cancer patients. But the doctors reassured me, and my family have also done their research telling me that CT scan is actually a very, very common thing that people do. Some people who are not even sick do the CT scan for their routine medical checkup. So I agreed because they weren't discharging me from the hospital. I was so tired of staying in the hospital. I cried every single day, at night, in the middle of the night, in the morning when I wake up. The nurses were, I don't know, I think the nurses were also quite empathetic and sympathetic of my situation. So I went in for the CT scan, which basically looks like this. It's like this round circle. They push you in, ask you to take a deep breath, and then push you out again. It's the radiologist who will be talking to you from one of the speakers in a round circle, and then they will come out, they will inject a colorant into the cannula that I had on my arm at the time, and then I will feel some form of warm sensation going to the bowel area, and then they push me in again, take a deep breath, and push me out. That's done. All that I have to do is to chug water and to make sure that the colorant comes out. So after that, in the evening, I was told, the radiologist basically said they couldn't see anything because I was too skinny. Everything was sort of clumped up together, so they couldn't really tell where the color went and whether or not there is still any infection. I was devastated, and the radiologist also suggested for me to go for an MRI. For me to go to the CT scan alone was a whole drama. I was so persistent of not doing the CT scan. I would rather go home sick than to go for the CT scan at that point, until my family and my friends put some sense into me. And so then I waited the next morning for the surgeon and the doctors to come see me because they knew my situation best. And thankfully they came to me and said, well, he understood the CT scan, and basically they still couldn't see the appendix, but they saw a small collection of the infection remaining in my body, which is why I was still having high temperatures and high heart rate. So he said they just need to give me stronger antibiotic drips to keep me under control, make sure that my temperatures are going down, make sure my heart rate is not as high, then they will send me home. So I waited, my temperatures were not going down. I waited all the way until the 3rd of December. That was when I was discharged. But because there was still a collection in my body, I was asked to return to the hospital every single day for antibiotic drips for the next 2 weeks. So basically I was being treated as an outpatient. I had to take 3 times of the antibiotics pills every day, and also 1 pack of antibiotic drips every day in the hospital. I went through that and I was fully discharged on the 16th of December, and never again I returned back to the hospital. It was a traumatic experience, absolutely devastating and depressing. I don't wish anyone to go through that, the same thing. But I am so grateful that I had my friend with me physically, and I had my family with me. And to all the NHS workers, you guys are awesome. that sums up my experience of being admitted into Chelsea and Westminster Hospital and also having a surgery a day before my bar call. Never ever gonna forget it, and I'm just forever grateful that I survived, because right after I came out of the operation, one of the surgeons said, well, Dr. C, let's keep her anonymous, Dr. C probably saved your life. And that hit me quite hard, that I could have lost my life. I hope you enjoyed my crazy and dramatic story. Bye!